Cool. All right. Shalom, 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 Israel. Yahweh Bashim Yahshabarakatam, Brother Kazak with Sons of Zion, Houston, along with
Brother Kasadia, Sons of Zion, Houston.
our praise to the Most High. Hey, welcome to another episode, right, or another lesson of Faith by Works, right, where we learn a commandment week in and week out, all right, to learn how to love the Most High God in deed and in truth. We often, break down Deuteronomy 28, right, and go over commandments with our brothers and sisters um, uh, that they may be, joined unto the marriage, that they may know who they are and to understand who they are, and also to who they need to serve and how they need to walk in these last days, what they should be doing. And when we actually have that godly discourse with them, and we start to break things down to them, we can't even mention three commandments, right? And that's because we've been discontinued, right? So Lord willing, right, through the power of the Most High God, in this series, right, of Faith by Works, we actually learn more commandments, all right, week in and week out, so that we can learn how to prove our faith, to prove our love, to prove our fear, right, in the Most High God, right. Um, so without further ado, let's jump straight into it, right? The opening precept of Colossians chapter 3 and verse 17, and it reads, "And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Yahweh Shah, giving thanks to Yahweh and the Father by Him," right? So everything that we do is by Shem Yahweh Shah, man. We do this to glorify the Lord by way of His Son, right? That's why we say, "Call Halal Yahweh by Shem wa Malak Yahweh Shah." That's giving all honor and glory to the Most High God of Israel by way of His Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This is the book of James, chapter 2, and verse 14. "What does it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and have not works? Can faith save him?" Right? So, can faith alone save you? Is this enough? Are you justified? Prophesying with your lips and saying, "Hey, I got faith in God. I'm good, brother." Is that accurate? Can we say that? Verse 17 in the same chapter, it reads, "Even so, faith, if it have not works, is dead, being alone. Ye, a man say, Thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works." So, what are the works? The works is the righteousness, man. The righteous deeds of serving the Most High God, right? The commandments, the statutes of the Most High God that He gave to us for an heritage, all right? This is how we prove. We prove our faith, we show our fear, all right? And we show our love for the Most High God in deed and in truth, as it states right here. First John chapter 3 and verse 18. "My little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth." All right. In deed and in truth, we show our faith and love and fear. All right. So the title of today's lesson, all right, what we'll be going over this week is pride versus humility. Right. We all can learn from this. All right. We all are guilty of being prideful. We all have different levels of pride. Right. And pride, it's okay to have pride in a good way, right? Showing forth pride in the Most High God that you are an Israelite and standing on, the morals and principles of the Most High God, right? But the negative side of pride is being infatuated with oneself, being self-absorbed, and we're gonna jump into, the different characteristics of excessive pride, the negative side of pride, right? And then, right, we're going to actually dive into humility, right? Meekness, okay? Humbleness, right? On how we should be moving. We're going to use humility to edify, right? The characteristics of pride. So we're going to get the characteristics of both, okay? Let's start off by getting a definition real quick. Let me share my screen. And we're going to get the definition of pride and look at the synonyms of pride, okay? Let me know if you can see my screen, bro. Am I green?
All good, Ken.
Kind all praise to the Most High. Right. So the definition of pride, okay, according to the Merriam-Webster, it's the quality or state of being proud. All right. Self-respect, okay, is what it's referring to. The second definition is reads. It says pleasure that comes from some relationship, association, achievement, or possession that is seen as a source of honor or respect. Right. So when we read that definition, we could see that One can have a high level of respect for himself, right? They can use a possession, right, that they have that is honorable amongst most, and then they start to develop pride. They're excessively proud in that thing, right, or that respect that they have, right, the achievements that they acquire from this world, right, and the pleasures of relationships and associations. All right. The third is exaggerated self-esteem, right, or otherwise known as conceit. These are the three different definitions of pride, right? And we see this a lot amongst our people, right? When we examine ourselves, which we should constantly be doing, right? I see this in the mirror, me, myself personally. I see it on other brothers. I see it on sisters, right? And if we all want to be better, if we all want to hold each other accountable and love each other the way we're supposed to, we need to be examining ourselves and looking into the ways of humility so that we can edify that and to be more like Christ. Because the ultimate, the ultimate goal, right? The objective here is to be like Him and to be better. All right. So let me switch over and show humility. You see the humility definition, King, or you still see pride? I
Still
did a
on
little.
now.
Okay, let me go back there. I did a little something different this time. All right, let me try this again. All right, so let's get the actual definition of humility, right? On the flip side of it, right? The ultimate goal to be more like this characteristic, like Christ. It says the definition of humility is freedom from pride or arrogance, right? So it's the flip side, apparently, right? Obviously. And it's the absence of arrogance. It's the quality or state of being humble, okay? And when we look at different synonyms, the brother is going to jump in that on that side, right? I
Slack
just
you
need to
can.
state the premise. Go ahead,
Slack
King.
you real quick. You see that blue button that says synonyms of humility?
Mm-hmm.
Click on that.
Okay, Connor.
Go and read that one.
Ooh, Khan, that's a good one, right? So it says the absence of any feelings or being better than others, right? Khan. Yeah, because when you have humility and you're actually moving in the spirit of Christ, right? You don't have a competitive spirit. You're not comparing yourselves to others, right? We see this amongst our fellow brothers in Israel, right? The heads of camps. They could unknowingly, right, put themselves in competition with other camps, you know, trying to be, the standard, trying to one up this camp, trying to teach better. This camp does this, we're gonna do like this, right? Instead of showing that togetherness, that team effort, and being like Christ, right? The absence of any feelings of being better than others, right? And the synonyms follow as such: a lowliness, humbleness, meekness. You understand? But I'm gonna leave it there because I'm gonna let Brother Kasadia jump into that on that side, right? But um, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it to you, King. After I get this commandment, right? So the commandment of the actual week, right? We're gonna go to the book of Sirach, chapter 10, and I'm gonna start at verse 12. And it reads thus: the beginning of pride is when one departeth from God, and his heart is turned away from his maker. So the beginning of that undesirable characteristic, right, is the actual departing from the Most High God and His ways and His statutes. It says, "And his heart is turned away from his Maker." For pride is the beginning of sin, right? And when it says, "And his heart is turned away from his Maker," that's because you're putting yourself first. You're putting yourself as the standard. You're putting yourself as the judgment. You're putting yourself as the moral and principle of which you move. So now you turn away from the Maker. Now you turn away from the Most High God and His statutes and His judgments and His rules and regulations on how you're supposed to move. Reading on, it says, "For pride is the beginning of sin, and he that hath it shall pour out abomination." Right? So anything that you say, anything that you prophesy, the way you're moving, the example that you're setting, when you turn away from your maker, you're pouring out abominations. when you put yourself first as the moral and principle, as the standard, right? It says, and therefore the Lord brought upon them strange calamities and overthrew them utterly. So they'll be overthrown. These people who are prideful and put themselves first as the moral and principle, right? Strange calamities are going to happen to them, right? They're going to be overthrown. They're going to be going through things, right? Trials, tribulations, and afflictions. All of these bad things are going to come upon a person who is pride. It's the beginning of sin, right? But you got it, brother Kasadi. You go ahead and jump in there, King.
All right, King. Like I say, Mighty was bringing out. I said the focus on today is pride. And then the flip side of that coin, humility, right? You understand that pride goeth before destruction. That's what the scriptures say, right? And we're going to bring out accounts, Lord willing, through the Spirit that shows just that. A prideful individual themselves to their own ruin. And on the flip side, again, Lord willing, we're going to show how humility was able to preserve a spirit on this earth, right? At the end of the day, pride is a very dangerous spirit to have on you. The brothers and I were chopping it up last night, right, after camp, and we're talking about it. It's a very dangerous spirit because it's one that is very hard to identify when you have it on you, right? It's so subtle, right? It's real easy for others who are in the spirit to pick up on it, right? And the crazy thing about pride is it is such a strong spirit that even if you have others around you that are able to pick up on it and tell you about it, what you have on you will always deny it. It'll always shoo it away. Like, nah, brother, you wrong. It's that I'm right spirit. You always right about something. Can't nobody tell me nothing spirit. Kanye West made a whole song about it, right? Pride is a very dangerous spirit that we all have to make sure that we're keeping watch at, right? Real quick, let me shut my mouth and bring out the words of the Lord. It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 15. What I want? We'll give verse 31, right? Proverbs verse 15 and verse 31. It says, "Here the reproof of life abideth among the wise," right? So what does that mean? If you're someone that can take correction, can take instruction, right? That means that you're in that group in the eyes of the Most High of people that are wise, right? If you can't take that rebuke or instruction, then you're in that group of the foolish, right? And that group of the foolish can't take rebuke simply because of what? Pride, right? Let's keep reading. Verse 32, it says, "He that refuseth instruction despiseth his own soul," right? When you refuse that correction, when you have brothers saying, "Hey, you got pride," when you have that in your mind, "No, I'm right. These brothers don't know what they're talking about. These sisters don't know what they're talking about. Can't nobody tell me nothing," right? You literally hate yourself. And the pride is so tricky. It's so tricky because when you have pride on you, you're thinking that you're loving yourself. You're thinking that you're something high and mighty, but the Lord is telling you, no, you really hate yourself. Because again, pride goeth before destruction, right? It always goes before a fall. It says, "But he that heareth reproof getteth understanding," right? You got to be humble, lowly, in order to achieve this type of the wisdom of the Most High, the understanding that he has laid out in these scriptures, right? Verse 33, it says, "The fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility," right? So that true honor, that honor that's going to come by the Most High, by Hashem Yahushua, right? That honor only comes to a humble spirit, one that walks in humility, right? That spirit is not, the Most High resisted the proud. That's what the scriptures say. So that means he's freely given into those of a humble, contrite spirit, right? Let's keep cooking in Proverbs real quick. Book of Proverbs, chapter 18, and verse 12, right? I'm gonna start at verse 11, right? Proverbs 18 and 11. It says, "The rich man's wealth is his strong city, and as a high wall in his own conceit." Right. So again, we know the scriptures, right? Yahweh Shai said it'd be easier for a camel to enter through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to make it into the kingdom of heaven, right? A lot of people that have riches, they have a lot of pride and conceit in those riches, right? Actually, I'm gonna pull this precept that I got from the brother earlier. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 10 and verse 30. It says, "The poor man is honored for his, and the rich man is honored for his riches," right? So rich people, they have an idea of why they status that they have, right? And they're glorifying that. They have great pride in their material, what's the word I'm looking for? Material acquisitions, right? The material holdings, right? And then they understand that the reason that people esteem them so high is because of these riches, right? What does the Lord say? Verse 31, it says, "He that is honored in poverty, how much more in..." Usually the most humble people filled with humility are your poor, right? Everything that they got, they had to strive for, and they understood that it just doesn't come just like that, all willy-nilly, right? They understand that, especially in this truth, they understand that the things are given by the Most High. Job understood it. What did the Lord take it away? That's a humble spirit, right? A rich man thinks that, no, it's my money, it's my wealth, it's my status that is giving me these things, right? And he's puffed up in that pride, right? It says, "He that is honored in poverty, he that understands that the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away." So how much more would he be honored once he has those riches? It continues, it says, "And he that is dishonorable in riches," right? We all see what's going on in Hollywood, right? We seen what last year's, well, in 2024, Salakia, because we're still in the same year. In 2024, we saw the downfall of Diddy, right? We saw the downfall of a lot of high profile individuals, right? And we came to learn that a lot of these rich mega stars are very dishonorable behind closed doors, right? What does the scripture say? It says, "He that is dishonorable in riches, how much more in poverty," right? At the end of the day, the spirit will not change, right? You all know the saying, money only makes you more of what you already are, right? If you're a proud person, poor, you become a proud person when you're rich. Okay, nobody can really tell you nothing then, right? You walk around like you're literally God at that point. But if you're a humble person, poor, if you a person filled with humility, poor, well, when you gather riches, right, it's not beyond the pale of the scope to think that you will be faithful and humble with those riches. You will be charitable with those riches. You'll be somebody that's always looking to help out his neighbors with those riches, right? And that's the type of spirit that the Most High is looking for, right? Let's get back to Proverbs, because I didn't finish on that. So I'm going to refresh it. Proverbs 18 and 11. It says, "The rich man's wealth is his strong city, and as a high wall in his own conceit." Verse 12, it says, "Before destruction, the heart of man is haughty." Right? What does that word haughty mean? Salakia King, you got the Merriam-Webster still up? Pull up that word haughty. Baba Kashan.
Khan, I got you. Haunty.
Haughty, yeah. H-A-U.
G-H-T-Y.
Yeah.
Khan, I got you. Kind of definition of haughty is blatantly and disdainfully proud, having or showing an attitude of superiority and contempt for people or things perceived to be inferior.
See that? See that? That high and mighty look, right? That proud look, right? That's listed as one of the things. Hold on. Let me find that precept. Just yeah, Proverbs be cooking, bro. Real
Oh,
quick
yeah.
caveat.
Mhm.
Proverbs 6 and verse 17. Nope, Proverbs 6 and verse 16, right? It says, "These 6 things do the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him." It says, "A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood," right? "A heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren," right? All of these things that it just listed, these 7 things, you can all attribute them to pride, right? A proud look. I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? A lying tongue, right? Somebody who's it takes a lot of pride, a lot of you can't tell me nothing, a lot of I'm right and you're wrong, right? That type of spirit will cause you to lie, literally about what reality is. We all know those like to bend reality, like to twist history, right? You tell them, hey, so and so happened. We were in this situation and you did this. And I've been kind of holding it because I wanted to wait on a perfect time to talk to you about it. Now I'm finally talking to you about it. And that person tells you, nah, that didn't happen. We all know that person, right? Says hands that shed innocent blood, right? What did the biggest liar on this earth, Esau Edom, do, right? Who's more prideful than the so-called white man, right? A heart that devises wicked imaginations, right? We can keep going. Feet that be swift and running to mischief, right? These are all prideful things. That YOLO spirit. You only live once. Who gonna stop me? This is pride, right? Says a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren, right? That's all pride at the end of the day. Oh, I know better than that brother, so I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna go see if I can twist these other brothers' minds just to try to get them to see what I'm seeing in this brother. It's all pride at the end of the day, right? And as the scriptures say, we get back to it. Proverbs 18 and 12, it says, "Before destruction, the heart of man is haughty," right? And then to finish this off, it says, "And before honor is humility." So again, these are it's 2 different paths, right? It's a fork in the road, Israel. You have the path of pride, which is going to lead to destruction, and you have the path of humility, which is going to lead to honor. With that, I yield.
Mighty points, right? The brother brought out 2 mighty accounts, right? Talking about referring to the rich young ruler of Matthew 19, right? The humility side, the flip side of that, right, will be one to if you have all of these possessions, right, be one to give to the poor. But that rich young ruler in Matthew 19, he walked away sorrowful, right? Because he had pride in his possessions. You understand? So the brother was bringing out some mighty accounts, right? Lord willing, we can all learn from these accounts as written in Romans 15 and 4, right? Let me bring out a precept real quick. This is the book of 2 Corinthians 13 and verse number 5, right? Because the whole objective is to constantly look at our garments, right? Because when Yahweh Shah comes back and parts that sky, right, you understand anybody who is wearing strange apparel, anybody who has filthy garments, right, shall be judged accordingly, right? And we just don't know. We don't know if we are a part of that number that will enter into the kingdom, and we don't know if we are a part of that number who shall be cast into the lake of fire, right? So you want your garments to always be white, free of stains. You want them to be pure. Okay, so we always have to examine our spirits and make sure that they're pure, make sure they're white as snow. You understand? This is the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 5. It says, examine yourselves, whether ye be in the faith, whether you are walking righteously, whether you are walking in the faith that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. Examine yourselves to make sure that you're doing so. It says, prove your own selves. Prove your own selves, man. Right? Look in the mirror and challenge all of your bad tendencies that has been brought to you by a brother. Right? Prove yourself. If a brother is saying something, and if you really love that brother and you really see him as a man of the Lord, you have to trust his discernment. And that's another thing that's prideful as well. Not trusting in another's discernment because you think that you have the standardized discernment, the best judgment. I would know if something is on me, brother. Right? That's what's so blinding about it. Right? But reading on, it says, know ye not your own selves, how that Yahweh Shah HaMashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates. All right. If you don't examine yourself, man, you will become of a reprobate mind. Right. The brother said you will be what? The downfall, right? That haunting spirit, it leads to, right, the downfall. You understand? So we're going to get another one, right? We're going to examine the prideful characteristics that lead to sin. All right. One is feeling insecure. You understand? Feeling insecure, not having confidence. You understand? That leads to sin of being prideful. Your disappointment in oneself. Okay, because if you're disappointment in yourself, somewhere, shape, or form, somewhere along the line, you thought too highly of yourself. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been disappointed in a mistake or a downfall that you had. You understand? If you're really moving in humility, just think about that. If you're really moving with the character of humility, humbleness, and meekness, you'll understand that you're a filthy rag. But when the flip side of it, when you have prideful ways, you look at yourself more highly than you ought to think. Then when something bad happens to you, that thing makes you insecure. You understand? This is the book of Proverbs chapter 3, and I'm gonna start at verse 5, the classic, right? I'm not gonna be pulling no deep scriptures. I'm pulling the scriptures that we know already that we overlook. You understand? Because that's part of edifying the prideful spirit. We start to try to look for the deep breakdowns, and I got a unique precept. Don't nobody know about this one. You understand? But we're going to go to the simplistic ones that we overlook and the ones that we know already. Proverbs chapter 3 and verse number 5, it says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart. If you're prideful and you're haunting of that spirit that Casadio was bringing out, there's no way, shape, or form you can trust in the Lord the way you're supposed to. Reading on, it says what? And lean not unto thine own understanding, your own discernment, your own judgment, your own morals and principles. And it says, and lean not unto thine own understanding, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thine own eyes, fear the Lord, and depart from evil. All right. So when you acknowledge him and he will direct your paths, you're moving in that spirit of meekness, lowliness, right? Humbleness, understanding that in any way, shape, or form, right, he can take your life. But when you're moving in the spirit of pride, you think you're entitled to things. You're entitled to life, right? You're confident, overly confident in the next few minutes of your life. You understand? Another characteristic, right, that is prideful and that leads to sin is boasting, speaking highly of oneself. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 11, and I'm going to start at verse 4. And it reads, boast not of thy clothing and raiment. Don't our people do this in Israel, right? They think more highly than they ought to think of themselves because they're in designer, they're in Gucci, right? They're putting on the apparel that is made by their oppressors, right? Putting on Rolexes, all of this shiny glamour, right? They boast in these things, right? Floyd Mayweather does it all the time. You understand? And many, many other celebrities. And we do this, even at the bottom of the totem pole. Those who live paycheck to paycheck, we do that as well. Not just the ones that are high, right? Wearing purple, right? And in high raiment, right? It says, boast not of thy clothing and raiment, and exalt not thyself in the day of honor. For the works of the Lord are wonderful, and his works among men are hidden. So no man really knows the true power of the Most High God. So why do you think of yourself so highly? The Most High God's power and his works are so wonderful. So why aren't you humble yet? Why aren't you moving in that ideal spirit of meekness? Reading on, it says, many kings have sat down upon the ground, have sat down upon the ground, and one that was never thought of have worn the crown. Many mighty men have been greatly disgraced, and the honorable delivered into other men's hands. So, hey, you're not untouchable. You understand? Every king, all right, had a challenge. Every man of high stature, right, has had to go through things, have faced death, have faced many challenges, right, and has been brought down and disgraced. You understand? So why do we continuously have this spirit of pride, right? Boasting, if you will, considering us a place of power, right? A place of high stature, a place of high standard in this place as a good thing. We hold that as a reputation. Why do we do these things, right? I'm gonna get one more characteristic and I'm gonna pass it. Power hungry. This is another characteristic that leads to sin, and we're gonna get a precept on that. We're gonna go to Sirach 10, right? And it's no way you can do a lesson. There's no way you can examine yourself. There's no way you can really be edified by pride without going to Sirach 10. That's a classic chapter that really edifies a prideful spirit. Sirach chapter 10 and verse 9, it says, why is earth and ashes proud? There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man. Hey, a man that has evil concupiscence, a man that is like in an unhealthy way, desirous of riches, prosperity, materialistic things, high stature, right? Positions in this place, right? It says it's no more, it's nothing more wicked than that. And it's asking you, why is earth and ashes proud? It's because right now, if Lord forbid, you get sick, you roll over and die, your body will turn into the very ground that you walk on. So why are you proud? Why do you consider yourself and assume the position of the Most High God? Why do you look at yourself so highly? Because at any given moment, the Most High God can exhort his power and take your life. And your very life, right, could be nothing but a memory, and your body could turn into earth and ashes. So why do you hold yourself at this high standard? It says what written on? For such a one setteth his own soul to sale, because while he liveth, he cast away his own bowels. Hey, our people literally risk lives for that dollar. They got our oppressor's name on it. The same person that raped your foremothers, all right, and bred them, okay, and created more profitable slaves that produces more numbers, right? Bred us like cattle and horses in stables is on that dollar bill. The same person, right, who literally took your dignity, all right, who literally took, right, your manhood in front of other slaves to make you as an example, that's the same person that's on these dollar bills. Yet you risk your life for it. And the Most High God sees it as wicked. And our people literally do this. But you got it, King. I'm going to go ahead and yield there.
Kind of King. Yeah, I was having some technical difficulties over here for a second. I'm glad they didn't kick me out. But no, so
I seen that, man. Keep rolling.
God. So now let's get an account on humility. Like, you forgive me. Let's get an account on humility, right? This is the book of Genesis. We'll go to chapter 37, right? Real quick, just to kind of set the stage before we bring it out, right? It's an account of Joseph. Book of Genesis, chapter 37. Start at verse. Let me start from the top. It says, and Jacob dwelt in a land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. Right? So automatically, right? We got one son that's been shown favoritism by his father, right? And this son just happens to have 11 siblings, right? This is an easy circumstance for one to be puffed up, right? To have some type of pride about him, right? Not only that, now he starts receiving dreams from the Most High, right? Verse 5. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaf stood round about and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dream and for his words, right? Now, we can look at this real quick and be like, he's just prophesying at this point, right? But at the end of the day, we all got to understand time and place. Time and place, right? It is one thing that the Lord has given you this vision and that you know it to be true because it came from the Lord, right? It's another thing to go out and kind of just, hey, I'm gonna be over y'all one day. That's the dream I just had. I just get ready because, yeah. All right. Verse 9, it says, And he dreamed yet another dream and told it his brethren and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance unto me. And he told it to his father and his brethren. And his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the same. Right. So even Jacob, even Israel himself understood, okay, the dreams are coming from the Lord, but dog, come on, bro. Right? We're gonna jump. Long story short, his brethren really didn't like him. They ended up selling him into Egypt, into captivity, right? Where he ends up becoming ace boons with Pharaoh at the time. And Pharaoh made him a ruler over a lot of things in his house, right? To the point to where those dreams actually started coming true, right? There was famine in the land, and his brethren had to come to him, not knowing it was him at the time, in order to get food for the family, right? And supplies and all that. And he was able to provide them with these things, right? But in that time, that space in between, he had to go through afflictions. And in that affliction, he had to learn humility, right? So we're going to jump to Genesis chapter 41, right? And I'm going to start at verse 9, right? It says, Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Pharaoh was wroth with his servants and put me inward and the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker. And we dreamed a dream in one night, I and he. We dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was there with us a young man, an Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man according to his dream, he did interpret, right? So Joseph's back to his same old, right? Interpreting dreams, right? But at this point, he just happens to be in prison, right? So let's see the type of spirit that's on him. Let's see if it's the same spirit that he had before he went to captivity, right? Verse 13, and it came to pass as he interpreted to us, so it was. Me he restored unto mine office, and him he hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself and changed his raiment and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. Right? Now here's the point, verse 16. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. Right? Right? So Joseph went from, man, I had this dream, let me tell you what this dream is, to understanding, hey, no, this is the Lord doing this, right? The Lord is literally just using me as a vessel to tell you things that must come to pass, right? It's a stark contradiction, right? It's a hard 180 to the way he was moving, right? When he was in his father's house, being propped up of his brother, versus him in his low estate, right? Showing humbleness, humility, and meekness, right? It says, and Pharaoh said unto Joseph, in my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of the river, right? And we don't care about Pharaoh's dream right now. Just long story short, this verse 39, right? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as God has showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. So that humility, right? That humility and acknowledging that the Most High God was who was making these things happen. The Most High God was the one giving the visions and the interpretation, right? When he gave that glory to the Most High, instead of puffing himself up, right? The Most High put him in a very high position. Now, long story short, what ends up happening? Well, the dreams that he had early on that he told to his brother and his father, right? Those start coming true based on this one act of humility, right? And I got more accounts, but for sake of time, I'm gonna get right there.
Man, it's like the time go by so fast. I got so many precepts, man. We'll
Yeah,
we'll
me
probably
too.
have to do a part two, man. Right. But another right characteristic of of pride, right, is being a perfectionist. Right. Everything has to be perfect. Why? Because I want this reputation that's known to always be perfect. Right. When I was coming up, that's one thing that my old man always taught me, right? Is that whatever you do, make sure you do it the best. If you're gonna cut a yard, make sure that the yard is cut and there's no grass that was missed. All right. Make sure that it's edged up, right? Make sure that it's blown, the sidewalks are blown. Hey, you make sure that you do the best because your name is on it. Well, that's pride. Now, it's nothing wrong with having a good work ethic and putting your best to everything. Because the scriptures tell us with everything that you do, all right, do it in your best way. All right. Roughly paraphrasing, right? Do it to glorify the Lord, right? But if you're not careful, this can lead to an undesirable spirit of pride, right? It's first, I'm gonna get First Peter chapter 2 and verse 21. It says, for even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example. All right. So that reputation that you're holding, you have to be very, very careful, man. Why? Because ultimately Christ is the example, not ourselves. Reading on, it says that ye should follow his steps, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth, who, when he was reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judged righteously. He committed himself to the Most High God, right? When he was judged, when he was done wrong, right? He didn't, retaliate evil for evil. Reading on, it says, when he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judge righteously, who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree, that we, being dead to sins, should live unto righteousness, by whose stripes ye were healed. Right? So Christ gave his life for us, and he was the ultimate example, not ourselves. He was done many, many ways, right? He was beaten, he was stabbed, right? He was ridiculed, right? Many, called him different names and everything this and the third, put titles on him. Yet he didn't retaliate. That's the example that we have, not ourselves. So being a perfectionist is wrong because what we do is assume the position of Christ. We're trying to be like Christ unknowingly. Another one is being judgmental. All right. Pardon my speech, but hey, doesn't your shit stink too? We have to consider these things. All right. Because being judgmental really puts yourself on a place where you can see the wrongs in everybody else and not see the own mote that's in your eye. Romans chapter 12 and verse 3, it says, "For I say, though the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly." So in other words, hey, you don't need to be seeing yourself as the example, as the perfection, as the perfect standard, because you're guilty of things too. Because the Most High God is what? One to sit high and look low. So he sees what you're doing behind closed doors. He knows your heart. He searches your heart. He knows the demons that's on you. So why are you putting yourself in a place where you can judge others unrighteously? You understand? Reading on, it says, "According as God had dealt to every man the measure of faith." I'm going to get another one. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 2, edifying the judgmental spirit. It says, "For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again." Hey, the way we judge others and the way we do others, right? After seeing a spirit on them, hey, you have to understand that the spirits that's on you is going to be treated in that same way. So say if you're holding a grudge, okay, and you're doing things out of spite to get back at another individual, you're trying to execute judgment on that individual. And the Most High God is examining that. He's seeing that. And guess what? He's going to give that to you in that same way. So when you go to him to pray to him for forgiveness, he's remembering how you weren't forgiven and how you were judging and how you were relentless, right? And ruthless to your brother and to your sister who did wrong. You understand? Another one, right? Another characteristic of a prideful individual, right? The beginning of sin is what? Self-righteousness. So you're always correct. You're always morally and principally correct, right? So let's get a precept on it. We're going to go in the NLT and get Jeremiah chapter 17. I'm going to start at verse 9. Classic precept. It says, "The human heart is the most deceitful of all things." So when we really, examine that and really read that, if the heart is deceitful above all things as a man, how are we self-righteous? How are we always right? You understand? It says what? "And desperately wicked. Who really knows how bad it is? But I, the Lord, search all hearts and examine secret motives. I give all people their due rewards according to what their actions deserve." That's Jeremiah 17 and verse 9 through 10 in the NLT. It's so beautifully put. Hey man, the Most High God says that man's heart is deceitful and it's wicked. And what we'll do is sometimes Jake, what he'll do is he'll get scriptures, right, to manipulate, to get you to believe something, right? Be twisting it. And the Most High God frowns at this, man. And guess what? They will receive their due rewards. Another characteristic, right, is being a people pleaser. It ties perfectly into that reputation. When you're prideful, hey, you want to be the people pleaser. You want to be the one known with the best reputation. 1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 23, the classic, it says, Salakia, I'm going to go to Sirach 2. Sirach chapter 2 and in verse 16. And it reads, they that fear the Lord will seek that which is well pleasing unto him, not unto other people. You understand? Reading on, it says, and they that love him shall be filled with the Lord. You won't be filled with pride. You're going to be filled with the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. And you're going to be seeking what is well pleasing unto him instead of your peers, instead of the people around you. All right. Instead of other people in Israel, instead of other leaders in Israel. Right. So when you actually make videos, when you actually go forth and make and hold camp, when you actually travel in the highways and hedges, and everything that you put forth your work to do to glorify the Lord, it's not to please others. It's not to impress other leaders in Israel for a reputation. Rebellious and contentious spirits. That's also a form of pride. Being rebellious, always having an opposite opinion, always being argumentative and contention, debating, right? We see this a lot in Israel, right? Well, this is the book of 1 Samuel 15 and verse 23. It says, for rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Why? Because you are the idol. You're placed on that pedestal in your heart. You understand? And it says rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. Now, this always is brought out, right, and pertaining to, breaking the law, statutes, and commandments, and rebelling against the Most High God's word. But let's think about this, and on flip side, twofold, right? Rebelling against a brother, right, who is bringing out the scriptures and telling you got a spirit on you. You being contentious and arguing against him. No. All right. If it's something on me, don't you think I know? It's me. I'm always examining myself. Well, you must not be examining yourself properly. Or thoroughly, I should say. You understand? It says that is of the sin of witchcraft. Iniquity, idolatry, because you're putting yourself as the idol. One last one, and then I'm actually two more precepts, and then I'm gonna pass it, right? It says what? Ungrateful and unappreciative of blessings. That's another one. When you're ungrateful, right? People kind of do something for you, right? Treating you, hosting an event, and you're not treating them with the appreciation that you need to be showing them. Ungrateful for the things that's prepared for you because you think, all right, this stuff is supposed to be already prepared for me. I'm in this position in my heart. You're supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to be honoring me. Who are you? You understand? Show appreciation and stop being ungrateful. This is the book of 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse number 1. And it reads, this know also that in the last days, perilous times shall come. So in the last days, these spirits are going to be on men. It says, for men shall be lovers of their own selves. That's literally what pride is. Covetous, looking for that vain glory, right? Looking for that name, that reputation. It says boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truth breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good. That's 1 through 3. I'm going to go down to verse 8. Now as Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses, referring to a previous account, it says, so do these also resist the truth. Men of corrupt minds reprobate concerning the faith. Hey, this leads to a reprobate mind concerning the faith. You got to understand that this is undesirable unto the Most High God. And this is what's going to be on our people in the last days. We are in the last days, man. So we have to examine ourselves. One last one. Another characteristic is being controlling. Assuming the Most High God's position. That's literally what you're doing. You understand? Well, this is the book of Proverbs. We bring this out all the time. Chapter 20 and verse 24. It says, man's goings are of the Lord, not of your own self, but it's of the Lord. The Most High God is the one that determines which way. You thinking you're going to go left. Most High God says you're going to go right. You understand? A lot of our people that and especially our brothers, man, we think, right, because we're the head of the household, right, and we execute a plan that it's supposed to go as planned every time. Exactly like that. And we get irritated when it doesn't execute properly. That's because man's going to the Lord. Most High God didn't want you to take 45 to get to camp. He wanted you to take another route. And we get pissed off because it's traffic. We get pissed off because it's obstacles in the way. It says man's goings is of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? How can you understand, right, the will of the Most High God, the way He wants to execute things? And we have to understand that, man. There's so many classics that we bring out all the time. We don't really fully examine it, man. And it shows. With that, I yield. You got it, Kasadi.
Fine, King. Mighty points. Shoot, if you will. I'll be honest. I know you said you want me to focus on the humility side, but I kind of wanted to jump on a point and get an account of that pride, right? It's the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 13. It's the classic, right? Let's see. Well, it's the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 13, verse number 8. Right? It says, and he tarried 7 days according to the set time that Samuel had appointed. But Samuel came not to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. Right? So this is a kind of Saul, right? He was battling against the Philistines, right? But Samuel had gave him a strict commandment to wait on him 7 days so he can make an offering before they went out to battle, right? So the 7 days had passed and Samuel hadn't arrived yet, right? And so the people are starting to be in a disarray. So Saul is getting nervous at this, right? Verse 9, it says, and Saul said, bring hither a burnt offering to me and peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offering. And it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of the offering, the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came, and Saul went out to meet him, that he might salute him. Right now, this is off. First and foremost, if you know the law, especially at this time, the offerings were to be made by the priests, by the Levites. Right. So Saul, being a Benjamite, had no business going against the order of the Most High. Right, and he's the king at this point in time. Had no business going against the order of the Most High, but because of his pride, because of him thinking, you know what, if we all know somebody that had that spirit, if you want something done, you do it yourself, right? That's pride at the end of the day. Because he had that pride on him, he literally went outside of the order of the Most High and sinned in a great way, right? Let's see what happened. Verse 11. And Samuel said, what hast thou done? And Saul said, because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that thou comest not within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered themselves together at Michmash. Therefore said I, the Philistines will come down now upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto the Lord. I forced myself, therefore, and offered a burnt offering. Right? Pride. One is pride, two, that's lack of faith, right? And you can honestly marry those two. A lack of faith is always pride, because when you lack faith, you start to overly estimate your own abilities. Is that not pride? Right? You start to think about what you can do, how you can make the situation better, how you can fix things, how you can do this, how you can do that, without understanding, like the brother just brought out, man's goings of the Lord. The Most High has a plan of execution, right? And he's given us specific orders, right? And it's on us to carry out those orders, right? While he execute his plan, right? It says verse 13, And Samuel said to Saul, thou hast done foolishly, that thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee. For now would the Lord have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. But now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought him a man after his own heart, and the Lord hath commanded him to be captain over his people. Right. So because of this pride that led Saul to sin against the Most High God, when the Most High God would have established Saul and his seed line after him as the kings and the rulers of Israel forever, right? Saul lost that. He lost that, and it has to go. That kingship has to go to someone else because of his pride and his lack of obedience, right? And it says he's going to go to someone after his own heart, right? It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 18. Verse number 4, it says Proverbs chapter 22, verse number 4. It says, by humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. Right? Thorns and snares are in the way of the froward. He that doth keep his soul shall be far from them. Right? So that's literally two sides of the same coin. Right? Humility. When you have humility and the fear of the Most High God, that's when the riches and the honor and life come to you, right? But if you have a froward heart, if you're haughty, if you're high-minded, if you have pride on you, it says thorns and snares are in your way. It says, and he that keep his soul shall be far from him. So one of our main goals while we walk in this flesh is to keep our soul, possess our souls, right? What does that mean? Fleeing from pride, fleeing from that frowardness, right? And when we do these things, when we show that humble spirit, when we humble ourselves before the Most High and show that humility, right? He's quick to show mercy, right? We all know of King Ahab, the wicked King Ahab. Well, even Ahab was shown a version of mercy because he humbled himself. Real quick, let's get that. This book of 1 Kings, chapter 21. I'm gonna start from the top just to set the stage, right? It says, and it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard which was in Jezreel, hard by the place of Ahab king of Samaria. And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house, and I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it. Or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money. And Naboth said to Ahab, the Lord forbid it me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. And Ahab came into his house heavy and displeased because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite has spoken of him to him. For he has said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed and turned away his face and would eat no bread. Right there, he's showing an extreme amount of pride. Right? You wanted to purchase a man's land, his vineyard that had been passed down to him by his fathers, right? And he simply told you no. A pride spirit will not allow you to take no for an answer, right? It's simple. No, I don't want to give it to you. Like I'm not here belittling you. I'm not here bashing you. I'm not talking down to your character. All I said was, no, this was passed down from my fathers. I don't want to give that up. I want to continue to pass it down my seed line, right? Any humble person would see that, would take that answer and be like, okay, I get it. Cool. It is what it is, right? But no, he had to go home and complain about it and to his wife, right? The wicked Jezebel, right? And long story short, she does some wickedness behind the scenes and ends up getting Naboth killed, right? And Ahab was able to acquire that vineyard through a wicked dealing, right? Jump down to verse 17. It says, and the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, Arise, go down to meet Ahab, king of Israel, which is in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, whether he is gone down to possess it. And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, hast thou killed and also taken possession? And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, in the place where dogs lick the blood of Naboth, shall dogs lick thy blood, even thine. And Ahab said to Elijah, Hast thou found me, O my enemy? And he answered, I have found thee, because thou hast sold thyself to work evil in the sight of the Lord. Behold, I will bring evil upon thee, and will take away thy posterity, and will cut off from Ahab him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel, and will make thine house like the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha, the son of Ahijah, for the provocation wherewith thou hast provoked me to anger, and made Israel to sin. And of Jezebel also spake the Lord, saying, The dog shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel, him that dieth of Ahab in the city of the dogs. Him that dieth of Ahab in the city, the dog shall eat, and him that dieth in the field shall the fowls of the air eat. Right? So the Most High is sending that judgment. He's declaring the judgment, and he's about to send to Ahab. Right? How does Ahab respond? Let's see. Jump down to 27. Right? It says, and it came to pass when Ahab heard those words that he rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his flesh and fasted and lay in sackcloth and went softly. Right? So he took that hard, and he brought himself completely low. Right? And how did the Most High see that? How did the Most High respond to that? Verse 28, and the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, See thou how Ahab humbleth himself before me? Because he humbleth himself before me, I will not bring the evil in his days, but in his son's days will I bring the evil upon his house. Right? So all of those things that the Lord just told Ahab is about to happen to him. I mean, save what happened to Jezebel, but that's neither here nor there. Right? The Lord gave him some type of mercy. He gave this wicked man some type of mercy, all because of the act of him humbling himself, right? Showing humility, right? I mean, we can go on for days, right? Even the apostles. We know about the apostle Paul. He taught humility, humbleness, right? All he did was show humility. It's the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 15. And verse number 9, right? It says, For I am the least of the apostles, that am not meet to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God, right? This is Paul telling you that he not worthy to be called an apostle. When you talk about Christianity today in the world, if you were to ask any Christian who's the best apostle, right? More often than not, they're gonna say Paul. They can't give you a reason why, and if they could, they'd probably just say because he has the most books written in the Bible. That's neither here nor there. Paul puffed himself up. Zero, right? The book of Ephesians, chapter 3, verse number 8. Paul again, he says, Unto me, who am less than the least of all saints, is this grace given, that I should preach among the Gentiles the unsearchable riches of Christ, and to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery, from which from the beginning of the world hath been hid in God, who created all things by Yahushua HaMashiach, right? So Paul has all of this insight, but again, bringing himself low. I am the least of all the saints. See, there he's talking about all of Israel at that point. He's bringing himself that low. 1 Timothy, the first book, chapter 1, verse 15, right? It says, This is a faithful saying and worthy of all acceptation, that Hamashiach Yahushua came into the world to save sinners, of whom I am chief. Right? So Paul gave us an example of being humility, of that humility, of being humble, right? And I mean, obviously, because he's preaching Yahweh Shai, he's an apostle, meaning he was a disciple of our Lord who made that ultimate, who's the perfect example of humility, right? The perfect example of humility. It's the book of Philippians, chapter 2, verse 3. It says, "Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves." Right? Brother brought out that, well, he brought out two definitions earlier, right? That literally mirrored this verse, the definition of humbleness or humility and the definition of haughty, right? Those two are contrary to each other. We are commanded to live in humility and not that haughtiness, right? Let each esteem other better than themselves. Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, right? Let who being in the form of God, though thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Right? Wherefore God also hath highly exalted him and given him a name which is above every name. Right? So he had to come low. He had to show that humility and walk in humbleness and lowliness and meekness of estate before the Most High God gave him that honor, right? Remember, pride goes before destruction, haughtiness before a fall, but that humbleness comes before that honor. That humility comes before that honor, right? And Yahweh Shai is the perfect example of that, right? Just like Moses, right? All the way in the beginning. The book of Numbers, chapter 12. Second time, I'm just going to go straight to the point. Verse 3. It says, "Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth." Right? "And the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and to Miriam, Come out ye three into the tabernacle of the congregation. And they three came out." Right? Jump down to verse 6. "And he said, Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches, and the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore, then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?" Right? So Moses had that special relationship with the Most High God. But how did it come about? Verse 3 told you he was meek above all men of the earth, right? Real quick, get the book of Sirach, chapter 45, from the top, right? It says, "And he brought out of him," out of Jacob is what it's talking about, "and he brought out of him a merciful man, which found favor in the sight of all flesh, even Moses, beloved of God and man, whose memorial is blessed. He made him like to the glorious saints and magnified him, so that his enemies stood in fear of him. By his words he caused the wonders to cease, and he made him glorious in the sight of kings, and gave him a commandment for his people, and showed him part of his glory." Right? Why did the Most High God do this for Moses? Right? Well, it explains itself. Verse 4. "He sanctified him in his faithfulness and meekness, and chose him out of all men." Right? So again, that's the scriptures read, as we brought out already. I'm bringing it out again just for a refresher. Right? Book of Proverbs, chapter 15 and verse 33. The fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility. That humility has to come first. That humble spirit has to be first, right? Proverbs 18 and 12. Before destruction, the heart of man is haughty, and before honor is humility. Again, humility, humility, humility. That's the only, a humble spirit is the only way, right? That we're going to receive any type of honor from the Most High God. It's never going to be with our own power. It's never going to be with our own high-mindedness. It's never going to be with our own strength, right? Even Yahweh Shai told you. I get this one last precept, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it. Book of Matthew, chapter 23 and verse 11 says, but he that is greatest among you shall be your servant, and whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted, right? That's plain upon tables, right? Now yield with that.
Got it. Great, phenomenal points, King. I'm gonna get a few more and then we can shut it down. Let's see. We gotta understand this pride will blind your walk with the Most High, man, because you're literally consumed with oneself. You're thinking about your benefit instead of the Lord's, right? I'm gonna go to Psalm, right? Psalm chapter 10, verse 4. It says, the wicked, through pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. You understand? So there's no way, shape, or form to please the Most High God, right? When you're moving the way you think you should move instead of the Most High God. Psalm chapter 94 and verse 11. The Lord knoweth the thoughts of man, that they are vanity. Very plainly put, man, right? We got Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 3. It says, thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusted in thee, right? If you trust in the Most High God, he will direct your steps, right? You understand? You have to understand that you will receive perfect peace and you will flourish in this truth, right? When you stay focused on the Most High God and you trust in him. But when you trust in oneself, you're going to continue to disintegrate. You're going to continue to fall more and more closer to that reprobate mind that we spoke of earlier. Going back to Psalm chapter 119 and verse 113, it says, I hate vain thoughts, but thy law do I love. These are prayers we need to meditate on, man. Very simplistic, very plainly put, right? That pride is of destruction, and we need to aim towards that humility. Same chapter, verse 133, it says, order my steps in thy word, and let not any iniquity have dominion over me. Very plain, very beautiful prayers that we need to be praying and meditating on, right? Things to remember, right? Last few notes and then I'm going to close out. It says, trying to fix everything yourself. If I can't do it, it can't be done. That 50-cent spirit, man. If I can't, homie, it can't be done. Hey, the Most High God is not dealing with that, because now you're creating this persona, this stigma in your mind that, hey, I'm the only one that could do the impossible. I'm the only one that could do these things. Nobody can mess with me. Nobody could do what I can do. That's pride, man. It's vanity. It's upholding a reputation in your mind. And what you're doing is you're putting a block on the Most High God in your heart, man. Fearing of vulnerability and showing a weakness, making mistakes. You fear being vulnerable, put in places of being vulnerable. You fear, right, making mistakes and seeing, giving somebody an opportunity to see flaw in your character. That's pride. Holding competitive standards of perfection, right? Hey, this camp, you understand? It's gonna be the perfect one. That's off to say, man. It's off to create a something in your mind to think that ain't nobody gonna be messing with me or my crew, right? That's what we do in the world. That's literally how the Bloods and the Crips think. That's literally how the GDs think. That's how everybody thinks in the world. And we have to put on that new man in a way of that thinking, right? Excessively caring what others think. That goes right into that people pleasing, right? not considering another's discernment, right? When a brother is trying to tell you something and you always trying to be right, right? Nah. If something was on me, I would know. That's pride, bro. That's not trusting in your brother's discernment, not listening. You're closing your ears to what the Most High God is trying to communicate to you. You understand? Afraid of being surpassed in a skill, entitlement, thinking a blessing should come with every good deed. Oh, because I do right, because I'm good to my brother, I'm supposed to be blessed. Now you find yourself, kind of bucking up to the Lord, man. Now you see yourself getting pissed off with the Lord, quote unquote. We literally got brothers in this truth that think like that and speak like that. I can't believe the Lord could do me like this. Just don't make sense. That's off. Because when we read the three holy children, I was just tapping into this last night. Our praises to the Most High, that we deserve every judgment that comes to us. That's literally part of being humility, right? Being humble and being meek. That humility spirit that we need to be desiring and going after, right? But with that, hey, Lord willing, somebody was edified or will be edified on a replay in the coming days, man. We love you, Israel, right? Let's continue to examine ourselves, purge out the leavening in our spirits, put away that prideful way of thinking, that prideful spirit, because that's what's keeping us from getting the kingdom. That's what's keeping us from loving each other the way we should. That's keeping us from flourishing as a people. Let's actually embrace that humility spirit, like Paul, like Tobit, and all of the forefathers, like Joseph, right? Let's capture that. You understand? And continue to be more and more like Christ. You got any other points, King?
Nah, King. Hey, just humility, right? Humility is your best ability, right?
Bars.
And pride is a bunch of lions.
Like that. Right? Boys, right? Hey, with that, we love you, Israel. Until next week, Shalom.
Shalom, Yasharallah.